Hello, Internet. Come on in and join the NerdChat. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about the Flash and Green Lantern. But before we get to that, I do want to take a quick moment to say that if you have had any interest in what I do here, and you guys have been enjoying it, and those of you that don't always make it to the end of the video, I am streaming to my Twitch channel regularly now. I used to be streaming here, but now I'm going to be streaming mostly to Twitch. I'll still stream here from time to time, but I'm going to be streaming typically Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and then hopefully most Saturdays. So if that is of interest to you, there's a link in the description, but you can go and look up JediJosh_NC at twitch.tv, and hopefully I'll see you there. Also, while I'm on the subject, if you guys want to talk to me directly about anything, you can join our Discord for NerdChat, Comics and Culture, suggest videos to me, etc., whatever you're interested in talking to me about. There's a link for that in the description down below the video. So, with that being said, let's move on to the video. So this story is about the Golden Age Flash and Green Lantern going on a camping trip with their Silver Age successors. The comic begins with Hal, as always, waiting for Barry, who speeds in behind him, changing into his civilian clothes. Hal expresses his frustrations with Barry being late again, but Barry asks why he didn't take care of the shopping while he was waiting. And Hal says, well, he picked stuff up, but Barry takes out his wallet and asks the cashier what the damage is. Meanwhile, Alan and Jay are left waiting on a rooftop. Alan asks Jay if he knows what time it is. He tells Jay it's vacation time, plus 70 minutes. 70 minutes wasted. And he's sure it's Hal's fault. And Jay says not to be so sure. Alan doesn't know Barry, and Barry will be late for the end of the world. So, Alan doesn't understand, how did these Justice Leaguers get away with this? Justice Society was always on time. They were always so to the point. So how did these Leaguers get so lazy? And Jay calls him an old crank and says Alan knows that the boys are always dependable when the chips are down. But when Hal and Barry arrive, Hal asks if they're ready or not, because before Alan can snap at Hal, Jay gives him this, just give us a millisecond, let's get our gear on, suit up as the Flash and Green Lantern, and they all take off. So Barry says it was a good idea to plan this camping trip, and they surely should have done it sooner. Jay says this was a lot easier to plan than they thought, with how busy everyone always seems to be. Jay's retired now, so that's helpful for he has a lot of free time, and Alan owns his own company, so he typically gets to take time off when he wants. Barry had the time off stacked up, and Hal, well, Jay doesn't know what Hal does, and Barry says, well, who knows these days? And Barry asks where they're going, and Alan says he gave the job to Hal to figure out. Hal scanned the Green Lantern Corps database to find a perfect planet, but Barry asks why Alan couldn't do that. So this leads into everyone explaining their backstories. Because, the Flashes know the Flashes, the Green Lanterns know the Green Lanterns, but, Barry doesn't know Alan. So, Alan Scott was an engineer. He built a bridge specifically that someone sabotaged, and everyone died but him, and only because a talking green flame that came out of this lantern. The lantern said it was forged from a meteor that fell to Earth centuries ago, and he was called by it to wield its magic. He also sorry, I have a typo in here, it's driving me nuts. The flame said the lantern was forged from a meteor that fell to Earth centuries ago, and he was called to wield its magic. So he rose to the challenge and forged a ring out of the lantern. My God, sorry, I couldn't get through that. Jay was experimenting with some supercharged water molecules in college. He accidentally inhaled the fumes, and somehow he gained super speed. And I don't know if this is still canonically true, but a really interesting thing about Jay in particular is that if you guys watch the Flash TV show, you'll know the word metahuman for sure. They use it a lot, and they claim that Barry is a metahuman. However, and I'm not positive if this is still the case or not, but the way that it used to work is that Barry was not actually a metahuman, nor was Wally. They had direct access to the Speed Force, and while Jay also had access to the Speed Force, he actually was a metahuman, meaning that whatever he did actually gave him legitimate power of super speed, and then he was able to tap into the Speed Force to go faster. And then without the Speed Force, if he ever lost access to it, you could still run at 70 miles an hour. Don't quote me on that. But if you didn't know, that's a little interesting tidbit of history. But so Barry was in his lab, and we went over this before. He was in his lab, and he was doused in chemicals, supercharged by a lightning bolt. Oh no, I hit my scroll wheel, and everything went funky. But I don't need to find where I am to tell you what what Hal's backstory is. So Hal, he was a test pilot. He ended up coming across Abin Sur, who was dying. The Ring went to go find a new wielder, and Hal was the closest one, so he was chosen by the Ring, and he became a member of the Green Lantern Corps, intergalactic space police. So, at this point, Hal's Ring loses the map somehow, and they're lost, just in the middle of space floating around. And when Hal can't figure out what's wrong, Alan uses his ring to transport them to the nearest hospitable planet. So, as everyone is they take in the view of the planet, and it seems, hospitable enough. It seems pretty okay. And Hallen says that he doesn't dash into space as often as Hal does, but he does know that this ring is able to decide if his ring is able to decide if this planet is Earth-like enough for them to live here. So, like I said, everyone's taken to the sites, and Alan just starts putting together the tent, and Barry asks, don't you even want to see where we are? And Alan just says, time's a-wasting, and, continues putting together the tent. So, Jay says, since Alan's fancy ring can't help with firewood, let's go collect some. Because, by the way, Alan Scott's lantern does not work on wood. That's his weakness, whereas Hal's is the color yellow. So, as the three move out, Barry asks Hal if he's alright, and Hal says he doesn't get what's up with Alan. He acts like he should kiss his ring, but Jay says Alan's always been fussy. He doesn't let you see it until you've known him long enough. So Jay then explains how when Alan got his ring, he gave up engineering. He wanted to find a new career that wouldn't be so time consuming, so he could focus more on his hero life. So he started to run a soundboard on a radio so he could slack off, which Hal can't imagine an Alan Scott that ever slacks off. But, he, spent, a few years doing that. And then within 10 years, he owned 16% of the broadcast industry. And today he believes he's up to 22%. So Jay then asks Barry how he's been doing. They repeat the same conversation they always have. How's Iris? How's work? Who you fighting? Same crew, etc., etc. And Hal says, you guys sound like a bunch of museum pieces. Doesn't anything ever change for them? As Barry begins to grill Hal about the new jobs, new girlfriends, an ominous cloud starts to come overhead. And it's yellow, so only Hal can't do anything about it. So it starts raining this something harsh, and he says, well, nice job, Alan. At least I checked the weather report of the planet I picked. So at this point, Hal tries to shield them from the rain, but it's yellow, like I said, so it goes straight through. And what Hal does is he loads Barry into a cannon, and Jay is just in awe of what they're doing, because he's never considered anything like this. So basically Barry gets launched into the sky, and he starts making whirlwinds with his hands and tears the storm cloud apart. And as Barry parachutes back down with a Green Lantern construct, Jay congratulates them on their team effort, and they head back to eat. And that's where we get back to Alan, and he's building the tent, which looks a little wacky, but we will leave it there, and we'll finish up the rest of this the next video that we have, and then that will be all we're going to do with these Flash and Green Lantern videos for a while. There are a few more issues in here, like I've said a couple times, and maybe I'll come back to them later, but I would like to read something else and make videos on that. So, we'll get to whatever comes up after this soon. But yeah, I hope that you guys have enjoyed these videos so far. I hope that you enjoyed your time here with me. Just a quick repeat of all the things I said before. Check out my Twitch if you want to see me streaming there and playing with a couple friends. And we're going to play in Warzone, some Battlefront 2, some, Among Us, Sea of Thieves on Wednesdays. So, I hope that you guys are interested in that. I realize that I say so a lot the more that I do these videos. I really just almost said it again. So, God damn it. But anyway, let's move on. So I hope you guys check out my Discord and all that, and come talk to me, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye. Thank you.